Login.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hey, Liberty Heights family. Hope you're doing well. This is our weekly, I guess almost daily, 12 o'clock update. So we've been trying to keep a Monday through Thursday schedule, made a couple adjustments with family ministries lately that have been well received. I hope you guys have been taking advantage of that. But it's good to connect with you guys, even if it's just virtually. Someone asked us, how are we doing? And we said, we're doing good. We're just bored. And so life gets interrupted and you don't realize how much you miss some of the routines that you have. And so we've been back in the office this week, and lots of people still working from home, but we kind of reopened the offices up based on the governor's recommendations that offices could open back up last week. And so for me, that's been good. And I think Pastor Chris is on here with me as well. Yeah. Chris, can you hear us? All right. I just want everyone to know what a model staff we are. We're so committed to social distancing that we actually we Zoom from our offices. We're all, you can't see the great Oz behind the screen, which is Kyle. Kyle's in his office, I'm in my office, and Chris is in his office. And that's how we communicate now. We Zoom each other because we're very committed to social distancing. And I even make them put a mask on when they Zoom call me, just in case, to stay safe to do that. So there, there you go.
Can you
That's
hear
a
me?
normal. Yeah, now I feel normal. Now I feel normal. Yeah, that's our normal Zoom calls. And so we're just going to take a little minute, and we've gone crazy. That's what's happened. We have officially lost our minds. So we've obviously been having a lot of conversations behind the scenes about reopening and what does that look like and some of those things. And so, Chris, you want to kind of fill them in on some of the conversations we've been having and what we're seeing out there with other churches and in culture, and what church they're doing, what they're not doing, and some of that, and kind of catch them up to speed maybe on some of our conversations as staff.
Yeah, it's really been a crazy dynamic. And, I go back all the way to that very first Thursday. I think it was March 12th when the governor first made the first request for us to do things differently. And at the time, you're just making decisions at a vacuum. You have no idea what's going on around you. And that continues. And that's what's so crazy is that we'll sit on a Monday morning. And I think this past 3 weeks, we've spent hours and hours and hours on Monday morning discussing all this. And by lunchtime or early afternoon on Monday, five things have changed. And
Yeah.
so it is a moving target for sure. And it's been difficult to do. We've, watched a well-known church up the street get beat up pretty aggressively. Right or wrong, they were in the national spotlight, and we want to avoid that. And so we're just trying to proceed wisely. It does appear that overwhelmingly a lot of churches are making plans over the course of the next 1 to 2 to 3 or 4 weeks to begin a process of coming back. And what's been difficult is that every church is unique based on their size. And so, I think, Brad, at one time you've given a stat that 90% of the churches in Ohio are less than 150 or 200. And
Actually,
so
75 or less.
75 or less. And so, man, to engage in social distancing and to engage in some of these guidelines are much easier on a smaller scale. And the question keeps coming up. So, what do you do in some of your other campuses? So, Liberty Township is obviously our biggest campus, maybe 1,000 people on an average weekend. Lebanon, we see about 100. Our Hispanic campus sees about 60 or 70 to 100 on a given weekend. And so, how do you plan for that? There were talks like, do we open up Lebanon sooner? Do we open up the Hispanic campus sooner? But then, how do you handle the question of, oh, what does that mean if 400 or 500 people show up from the Liberty campus because it's only 10 minutes away? And so we early on decided that we needed to stick to the fact that we're one church and
Yep.
that we are collectively making a decision based on the kind of the least common denominator, so to speak. And so
Yep.
for us, that's been talking to churches. We've talked to churches out, Life Church out west that has 70,000 people. We've talked to people that are in Lebanon that have 60 people and everything in between. And every plan is a little different. Everybody has somebody on staff that is, the head of nursing at such and such a hospital or brothers with somebody in the CDC. And so it's crazy. And making a decision has just been extremely difficult. And so what we're looking at is, how do you turn over a building quickly? How do you maintain social distancing? What's the appropriate square footage in your worship center? So a worship center that is fire rated for 1,300 people. How many people can we fit in that worship center? How many services would it take? How many bathrooms do you have open? How many volunteers do you have cleaning the bathrooms? What degree do you clean the bathrooms in between uses or in between services? How far apart do you stagger your services to allow a clean exit and entry of other people? Here's a crazy question. Think of all the church plants, and we have
Yeah.
our church planner, Sean Akery,
Yeah.
meets in a YMCA, or all the church planners that we're friends with that meet in schools. And so we're trying to say, how can we be kingdom minded and invite them into the use of our space and our facility as well? And so, man, there are 1,000 dynamics, and there's no easy answers. I think, Brad, you were on that panel with the state convention earlier this week that had the 3 or 4 largest churches in Ohio and some of the smaller churches in Ohio. And I think your comment was, we have more questions than we have answers.
Yeah, it was interesting. So there were some of the panelists. They were either coaching church planters, so they had a lot of contact with churches 100 and under, or the other panelists were, I think we are probably all 1,000 or larger. And even in 1,000 larger churches, there were 4 of us represented, all 4 totally different approaches.
Yeah.
One couple are meeting this weekend. One of the ones meeting this weekend had probably an incredibly aggressive plan, with the facility. The other one has a little more relaxed plan. You got us kind of in the middle of, hey, when they lift the 10-person limit, then we can do some things. Then you got the other church that was, I think they're looking at maybe offering some evening outside services in mid to late June, and then maybe not even doing something inside the building to July or August. And so it's all over the board, even in similar churches. And I think that it's just a unique dynamic. I talked to the pastor 2 weeks ago, and he said, you spend so much time planning and researching, and then sit on your hands until the Monday morning or Monday afternoon update from the governor. So that's what's been hard, certainly as a part of that. Yeah, and we did make that decision to be consistent all across campuses, because again, you do have people with a little pent up desire to meet, and we're not having physical meetings here, and all of a sudden 100, 200 people show up at Lebanon, and you're not prepared to social distance at that. You don't have enough services or seats, and so I think churches even that are multi-site have even more complexities, because it's not uncommon for multi-site to have an original campus that grew larger, and then out of that multi-sided, and so I think it's even more complex, as a part of that. So yeah, so well, let me talk about, maybe share with folks some of the things that we've been discussing, and then kind of reiterate. I gave an update. I lose track of time now. I don't. I'm no more. No reckoning of time is gone. And so, I know how long it's been since I've had a haircut. I do know that part. To that. So the main reason we have us look at that, the main reason we haven't started back is we're not starting back till I get a haircut. I just want to say, let's just be
Hey,
honest.
listen, I will give you a haircut.
I, like I said, until I get a haircut. Now Kyle's married to um, to a hairstylist, and so I don't know that Kyle's hair's ever looked more beautiful. And it's become a source of pride in the office. Would you not say that? Like there's taunting. Is that the right word? Taunting?
Well, I actually think it's illegal what's taking place because I don't. I'm in calling the board of cosmetology, and I've been on hold, but I'm calling to report, and later on today, maybe make a citizen's arrest.
Yeah. Well, well, I tell
I
you
do
this that
have the power to come on here. Y'all know that, right?
the I will tell you this that it has, what doesn't see anybody, it has given a lot of creativity freedom that would normally not be there. And so the frosted tips, it's a nice touch. I'm not gonna lie.
Here's the
Um,
proof.
it's frosted tip. Mine's frosted too, but it's gray. And so
Uh,
the longer it
I could
gets, the
dream of
more gray.
frosted tips.
Well, so I don't know what we were talking about. What is this about?
Well,
No, it's gathering
it's
back.
talking more about what our plan looks like, and honestly, the reason that we're here is to introduce a survey because we
Yep.
want to ask questions and get some feedback. And so, I think you're going to talk a little specifically about what does it look like here.
Yeah. So one of the things we've talked about again, and kind of reiterating what I communicated again 2, 3 weeks ago, is that we've kind of looked at until the 10-person ban has been lifted. We're kind of staying with our online offerings, Monday through Thursday at noon, and then weekend teachings, and then Zoom through groups. And then Pastor Scott's been facilitating some counseling as well through Zoom. So, but hopefully in the short near future here, they're going to lift that 10-person ban, and so we're looking at what are other churches doing, and what does that look like for us. One of the most helpful things is for us is to get feedback. If we plan to relaunch some type of modified gatherings, this weekend, like some churches are, do we plan for 50 people? Do we plan for 1,500 people? Because lots of people are going to show up because they haven't shown up in that. And so it's been interesting around the country. I know a church in Texas, one of the largest churches in the country, they average about 25,000 across multiple campuses. They reopened last weekend, and I think they had an attendance of 2,500. So they were about 10%. And that's in Texas where, there's probably a little more freedom to do things than other parts of the country culturally. And so, if we're playing at 10%, 100 people, we can have one service. If it's going to be normal attendance, you're going to have to socially distance, you're going to have 10 services. So say all that to say, we're taking our cues from some other churches that have had um, good success with doing surveys, and it's given valuable feedback for them to plan. And so we've looked at probably 2 or 3 different surveys that other groups have put out and have kind of modified that for our usage. And so today, I think right after this Facebook Live, we're going to be sending out electronically a survey that we've worked on. And I think I don't want to overstate this. I think it's critically important that people fill that survey out and get us feedback. It's hard to plan in a vacuum of feedback. Historically in church work, if you put out surveys, you're doing great if you get a third of them filled out. And so, obviously, this is a unique season, and this is a really unique time to think about gathering back together again. And so, I can't stress enough the importance of actually getting that survey. Sorry, I was smoking right before we went on here. It's been a stressful time, very stressful. So, um, so the more feedback we get from people, the more helpful it is for us to plan. Again, are we planning for 100? Are we planning for 800? In doing that, so we'll launch that survey out electronically right after this Facebook Live is over, and then Kyle's actually putting a link in the comments. And so, hopefully that'll come back in over the weekend. And then I think our plan is to spend a lot of our time on Monday discussing, okay, we got feedback from our church family. And in light of that, here's how we're going to proceed forward. That's on that.
Yeah, let me just jump in and so your words aren't twisted at all because you said something like might make it sound like we're talking about this weekend.
Oh,
So
no,
we're
no.
not
Yeah, some
talking
other
about
churches are. Yeah.
this weekend. We're at least several more weeks out. One of the things that we're really is consistent across the board, and we're really trying to figure out is children's ministry. It looks like initially many, if not all churches are coming back without children's ministry as we know it on a Sunday morning. And
Yeah,
so,
I can't think of a single example of anybody that I know that's starting back this weekend or last weekend who has any kind of children's ministry at all. So
yeah,
yeah,
so that's a dynamic that we'll have to sort through. And, how do we continue to do some live offerings as well? It's really difficult. It's a hard enough thing for Kyle to maintain this online, we'll call it programming on a Sunday morning. But now put the dynamic of him being on stage and doing a live audience, and then you do things differently, you mix sound differently, you have different cameras. So there's a lot that goes into it, so we're trying to think of everything that we can possibly think of
yeah,
to make all this work out, but definitely excited for your feedback as well. And then something else to talk about, you may have been part of the group that started to get communication from us via text message.
mhm,
And we are discovering that if your email box is as full as my email box on a
mhm.
regular day, it doesn't get real timely response. And so we've started texting people. And so I think we have a number here that you can respond to us and get on that text list. And we've been using that. We promise not to clutter your text feed up with hundreds of texts a day, but really important stuff we're able to push out really quickly. And so we've introduced that to a large amount of people that we have your information. But if you'd like to be added to that list, then go ahead and respond appropriately, and we'll make sure to include you in that form of communication.
Yeah, and I think Kyle said the link is going to be up on the screen, and so if you're not getting text updates from us, and I think it's really crucial during this time to be state updates because again, we hope to be able to share some plans the next week or two regarding reopening and modified gatherings, and so I think it's if you're not signed up for that, again, encourage you to sign up for that. Just we're going to put out some timely communication as a part of that. So yeah, I think that if we get good feedback from the surveys in regards to a percentage, like a good feel for that, and then after we spend a lot of time on Monday in our staff meeting, I hope that next week we'll be able to communicate some kind of plan forward with our church that says, hey, here's what our gatherings are going to look like in the near future to do that. So again, crucial to all that is survey, getting it filled out, as many people as possible filling that out. It gives us the data that we need to plan. And then again, after Monday, we should be able to communicate something out to all campuses and saying, hey, based on your feedback, based on your discussions, based on what's watched as a couple churches around us have opened up over the weekend, we think this is what our plan is going forward in the weeks ahead. I think it's safe to say we don't plan on any kind of physical gathering through the month of May. But we would like to communicate a plan moving forward as early as next week to then give people at least 2 to 3 weeks notice of any kind of whatever those gatherings look like. So they have time to adjust. We have time to plan all those things as well.
Well, good. Well, I don't know if the ball's back in my court, but let's go ahead and wrap things up. Kyle will be getting that survey out. As always, we say this every week: get in a group. Man, group is as vital now and as important now as ever. So we can get you in a group. Share prayer requests with us.
Yeah.
We have teams that are still actively praying. We're praying. We're doing more than ever, reaching out to people on a one-on-one basis. I know that there's heavy needs out there. Man, I was just talking to somebody yesterday whose husband's in the hospital. They can't be with him. And we've heard that scenario over and over and over. Man, let us help you carry that burden. And so we'd love for you to go to lhc.life/share, and we'd be happy to pray with you in that capacity as well. So thanks so much. End of the day, survey, survey, survey. Survey says, right? And so we need your feedback. We value your feedback. And we cannot wait to see you face to face sooner than later. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks, Liberty Heights family. And I know if you guys picked up on this, we need you to fill out that survey. That'd be helpful. And again, after our Monday staff meeting, we hope to communicate either Monday afternoon or maybe Tuesday some of our thoughts and plans moving forward after we have time to evaluate your feedback and then discuss and then get a little feedback from some churches we know who are opening up this weekend as well to do that. So thanks for tuning in with us. And so I think Chris is said he's got to hurry up and put some pants on. And
Yes.
so um,
Yes.
I think Kyle's got an appointment to get his hair colored this afternoon. So I know we
Yep.
got to go ahead
Yep.
and wrap
Yep.
this up as well
Yep.
to do that. So hey, we'll fill out the survey if we mention that, and we look forward to communicating a plan as early as next week. And we miss you, and hopefully we will see you soon.